This method presupposes that we discover a small group of friends with whom we can share the lives we individually lead as Christians. The group allows us to continue the conversion process through living and sharing our piety, study, and action with other Cursillistas. What we call the group reunion has two elements, two distinct elements, the group and the reunion. So how do you define a group? The group is a community of persons constituted as such by the mutual agreement. It is something concrete, something more than just a formality. That is your group. And the reunion is another element, which is the moment or act in which group members come together to deepen their friendship. This is a temporary, transitory event. So, reunion. What do we think of reunion when we talk about it? Okay. Sharing. And when we go to our 40th, 50th reunion in high school, we see our classmates, you know, those who seem to be old and fat, no teeth. And they're the happiest people. Okay? Although distinct, these are two elements of the same reality because they are interconnected in such a way that one cannot exist without the other. Is that right? Yeah, because you cannot have a reunion without a group. If you go to a reunion and it's just you and your husband, forget it. You cannot dance the salsa, you cannot dance the reggaeton, or you cannot dance the Zumba. Okay, the reunion is what makes it possible for the group to form itself as a group, to continue being a group, and become a source of Christian communities that are full of apostolic zeal. The combination of the two elements in one reality of the group reunion is such that when this reality is lived, the group does become a birthplace, a wellspring of Christian community. How is the objective achieved? The reunion makes it possible for the group members to live out in an authentic, continual, and progressive way what is fundamental for being a Christian. Through sharing, reviewing, encouraging one another to live out what is fundamental for being a Christian, and offering one another the help needed to make this a reality. The group reunion helps to ensure that this living out of what is fundamental for being a Christian will be authentic. When I say authentic, I don't want to read the whole thing. Please open your structure or fundamental ideas of the Cursillo movement. Everything is in there. And you will retain it more when you read it than for me to be saying it to you. Because I think you will be falling asleep when I'm reading it. And it's continual, progressive, and shared. And what is the characteristic of the group reunion? You just don't go to the group reunion and just make what you think is good for the group reunion. It must be authentic. It must be authentic, serious, sincere, and when you go to your group reunion, it must be regular. You know you have a group reunion on a Friday. That's once a week. Comes Friday, the poor host is preparing something for all of you, and then 3 or 4 don't show up because there is no commitment. You have to have a commitment to have a group reunion. Because that's only once a week, so plan. Because you have the service sheet format that you follow, that one of your friends might be dying to share what he or she had experienced that week, and you were not there to share the joy or the failure or the success of the weekend. Okay? So, how important is group reunion? Group reunion is very important. That's one way to persevere. And there are two things that we need to persevere. And I mentioned already group reunion. What is the other one? Okay. The group reunion, as it was mentioned earlier, is not an extra event, but rather a form of life itself. It is not an added obligation one takes on, but rather a help toward perseverance. It is not a mere method, but rather a tangible realization of the dogma of communion of saints. Group reunion is to give a spiritual dimension to everything in one's life, which should, after all, be one's priority and greatest joy. And I have already said an example about going to a group reunion. So, try not to miss it, because it is very important to share your experience on that week so that all your teammates will be able to listen and to be evangelized at the same time. If one is not sponsored for Cursillo by a group reunion in which that person would be incorporated in that group, the Cursillo is certainly, or the group reunion should begin as soon as possible after the Cursillo. Is that right? Have you done this? After your Cursillo weekend, were you introduced by your sponsor, your leaders, to a group reunion? Yes. Okay. That's good. Sometimes, when you are brought to a group, and there happened to be one that you are not very fond of, which happen all the time. Try not to avoid that group. Just mention it frankly to your sponsor that I'd rather be more comfortable if I join the people that I know. But then St. Paul says, a few Sundays ago, says, love everyone. Easier said than done. Love your enemies. Okay? Life of all kinds implies growth, and so growth should be a vital aspect of the reunion as well. The growth comes first from all grace, but also from reviewing, planning, and sharing of commitments. The reunion process helps the group themselves to become better friends, better Christians, better parents, employees, etc., etc., etc. So, have you become better parents? Have you become better co-workers? I hope so. Because I myself, when I was working, I'm now retired. So I would say in the morning, oh my gosh, I will meet this person. And I pray that when he comes for his physical, I would be more accommodating, more friendlier, and more sympathetic, and have a happy face towards him. That's hard to do, but you must do it, because it's the Lord saying, love your neighbors as yourself. Love your enemies. And St. Paul affirmed that in his last gospel reading 3 weeks ago, I think. Something like that. You can help me out. The reunions are considered valid when they include the 3 fundamental steps of sharing the life of. What are the 3 things in group reunion? What are they? Sharing the life of piety, study, and action. So, this piety involves a lot of things. If you have your service sheet, do you have a service sheet in you? Do you follow this when you have your group reunion? No, we don't. Okay, that is good. Because there's a lot of things in here. Like I was saying earlier, that if your apostolic plan was success or a failure, don't worry about it, you know. I mean, things don't happen the way you want it. Sometimes Satan is stronger than God, sometimes, you know. And when you say, okay, I'll do this, but it comes out that you can't do it. I teach RCIA. When I come prepared, only 4 students comes. So when I come home, my husband says, so how was your class? Don't ask me. And he knows what that means, that I really prepared for the class. And seems like my effort was not good enough. That's the same thing with the group reunion. So, that's also one way of evangelizing, you know. By the word of mouth, you evangelize. And through action, you evangelize. And that's good. And people will say, oh, she is always smiling. Yeah, sure. I'm always smiling. So, the person who has been evangelized goes on to evangelize others. And here lies the truth, or the touchstone of evangelization. It is unthinkable that a person should accept the word and give himself to the kingdom without being a person who bears witness to it and proclaims it in his turn. And that's what Pope Paul VI's exhortation on evangelization of the modern world. Evangelization implies that we have attempted in some way to extend the kingdom. Which kingdom are we talking about? To witness it, to proclaim it to our brothers and sisters in the world. Like I have said earlier, success and failures are things that don't turn out the way we want it to. We are being challenged many times. We are being tested. Yes, we are being tested. If we are really the authentic Cursillo, you know, we have to be committed and we have to practice the golden rule. To keep the reunion from being routine, emphasis should be placed on evangelization. And like I have said, we have apostolic success, we have apostolic failures. And what are your plans for the next week? And you have big plans for the next week, but sometimes it does not materialize. Right or wrong? And also, the success is we have to have the frequency, the time, and place. In my group in San Diego, we started with 4 couples, and now there are 12 couples. It says in the group reunion, limit it to 3 or 5. In my group, they tell me, if it doesn't need fixing, don't fix it. I said, what needs fixing? All I'm introducing is we have to group in 3, 4, or 5. But you men are so nosy sometimes. You want to hear what the female has to say. So you don't want to isolate yourself from the females. So what I have decided is we will group in 5 or 4. And then after, maybe half hour before the end of the group reunion, we will have a mini ultraya. So whatever the 4 groups have shared, they will share it to the larger group. So that's what I call the mini ultraya. And one senior Gutierrez says, that's fine. And I'm hearing behind us, that's not fine. You know, you are not doing what the nationals wanted you to do. But we are grouping in 3 or 4. And then after that we have the mini ultraya, so that when the ultraya comes, it won't be hard for us to pick a witness. So, anytime, anywhere. Anywhere. Now the focus as we are getting older, they want to eat in a restaurant before the group reunion. And I says, no, you're defeating the purpose. We should pray first before food. We should concentrate on the first time we had the group reunion that we should just have coffee and whatever sweets we have after that. No. They want to have prime rib, they want to go to the Asian and eat all you can. And I says, look at yourself in the mirror, you're getting wider. And they said, that's because you do not eat. I says, oh, I eat, but I have to watch. So, anywhere is a big question mark for me. Because, like I said, the focus is on the food. But I'm trying to break that away from my group. And it seems like I'm having a successful try or plan to get away from the food and focus on the prayer. And it seems to be working. And like I said, economy-wise, we have to watch what we eat, what we spend. So I was branded that you being a GI, you know what a GI is? Genuine Lucano. You're kuripot. You don't want to spend. Oh, maybe there's truth to that. But when you retire, you are on a fixed income. Right, Brand Bayani? Yes. So, that's my share on my group. And in conclusion, which is the best part of it, and Brother Oscar is not here to affirm it with me, reunions are a method to be church in the world. Being church, being Christian is not a choice, a luxury, or an option, but a consequence of our baptism. Believe that? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's not a luxury, it's not an option. So by virtue of our baptism, we are expected to do our part. Last week we had our grand multicultural grand reunion in San Diego, and it was officiated by our Bishop Brom. And he said, Cursillistas are sent and centered. So I said, sent and centered, what are you trying to tell us? So he says, you're centered in Christ. We send you to evangelize. We send you to Cursillo, worship, and whatever. That's why you're sent and centered. So, keep going, evangelize, no matter what. Whether you like the person or not, keep smiling. And to evangelize to those who are non-Cursillistas, invite them to a all-you-can-eat. You will be able to lure them to come to the weekend class. So, that's all I can share in this talk. And Doris, and I thank you for staying awake and listening to this talk at this ungodly hour. And I would like to ask our brother Deacon Steve Budnick to say the closing prayer. Brother Ben, aged before beauty.